For is Jesus my Lord, a wonderful Savior to me. He hideth my soul in the cleft of the rock, where rivers of pleasure I see. He hideth my soul in the cleft of the rock, that shadows a dry, thirsty land. He hideth my life in the depths of his love, and covers me there with his hand, and covers me there with his hand. A wonderful Savior is Jesus my Lord, he taketh my burden away. He holdeth me up, and I shall not be moved. He giveth me strength as my day. He hideth my soul in the cleft of the rock, that shadows a dry, thirsty land. He hideth my life in the depths of his love, and covers me there with his hand, and covers me there with his hand. Last verse. When clothed in his brightness, transported I rise to meet him in clouds of the sky. His perfect salvation, his wonderful love, I'll shout with the millions on high. He hideth my soul in the cleft of the rock, that shadows a dry, thirsty land. He hideth my life in the depths of his love, and covers me there with his hand, and covers me there with his hand. Thank you. Have a seat. Let's go, Lord, in prayer. Does anybody have a spoken prayer request? You have a spoken request, prayer request? Okay. Pray for those that are traveling this weekend. There's a couple families out of town. Anybody else with a spoken request? Anybody with an unspoken request? Jamie? Okay. Okay. All right. Anybody else? Unspoken requests then? All right, let's go to the Lord in prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for the opportunity to be in your house this morning. I pray for blessing all that we say and do that will bring honor and glory to you. I pray for those with special needs this morning, that you'll meet the needs. I pray for the lost around this room, see them saved. I pray for those that are traveling this weekend, you'll keep them safe and bring them back to us. I pray that you bless our services, that all we do will bring glory to you. In Jesus' name we ask, amen. All right, you can be dismissed to Sunday school class. A couple of teachers aren't here yet, but they will be. I'm sure they're on their way. Okay? Those of you who know where your teachers will be here in just a minute. Do you need help? Before we get to the lesson, go ahead and open your Bibles, John chapter 9. We'll get to the lesson in just a second. Before we get to this, I want to make an announcement about something. I'm going to announce at 11 o'clock service, but I want everyone to think about this, and we're going to make a decision, I think, today on something. There's a lady that we know, that Tammy and I know. Her and her husband, he's an evangelist, Kevin Walker, and his wife Loretta Walker. They've been preaching for 30 years and traveling across the country. And he's an evangelist. They have horses, and they have a little pony goes with them and stuff. I remember when Jared and Rebecca were in Arizona. Josiah was only a year or less than a year old, and he's standing there with the pony and stuff. And I know these people, and there's needs within our church that sometimes I feel like I can't fill, and Tammy feels the same way that with the ladies. There's some things that she can't. She wants to help, but she has no idea how to help on certain things. So on I think it's November 16th. It's like 3 weeks away on Sunday. On Saturday. We're going to maybe do something on Friday night and Saturday. We'd like for all the ladies just clear your schedules if you can to be here on Friday night and on Saturday. But we may just switch it to Saturday, depends on what time the flights are to get in. Because we'll have Loretta Walker to talk to our ladies, and her daughter, or daughter-in-law, she went to school with Rebecca, I can't remember her name, her son's KW, but to talk to the teenage girls. And we went, and it's something that Pam's it's quite all right. Forget something? I don't want to embarrass you or anything. We understand. But we want Loretta to talk to our ladies. Somebody asked Tammy something this week, so Tammy sent her a YouTube video of Loretta, and when Tammy brought up to them the other day, they just started weeping. Now there's tears coming to their eyes, just thinking, I want to hear that lady speak. She is not a nationally known Joyce Myers, send me all your money, you'll get rich, and I'm going to sell you these books things. She's not one of those speakers. She's from West Virginia. She's down to earth, and she's going to speak to our ladies. I really want this to happen, if we can get this to happen. So how many ladies, November 6th, I think it's the 16th, 3 weeks away. How many ladies will be available on a Saturday? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just about everybody? Okay, just about everybody. Okay. Well, and Kelly says, well, I got the kids on Saturday. Yeah, you don't know yet. Okay, we'll bring duct tape and we'll watch. Me and PR will watch your kids all day while your kids. Excuse me, I misspoke. PR and Jason will watch your kids the entire time. We'll go back here to the nursery. I remember Ted and I will take the van with all the kids and we'll take them to. What's that place on Quarter G where you stamp their hands, they can't get out? Huh? Not jail. No, the pizza place. What's that camera in the game? What? Chuck E. Cheese. We'll take the kids to Chuck E. Cheese, put matching shirts and, I don't know, ankle bracelets on them or something like that, and so they can't get out. You know, beeper goes off, they try to get out the door. But we'll do something to take care of the kids as much as we can, okay? But it's, well, you know. Okay, we did this. I only remember specifically watching the kids for one Ladies' Day meeting. Me and Donnie Huey watched the kids. Mason was less than a year old, about a year old, so that's how long it's been. So it's been at least 20 years ago. And we had him back there for, I think it's 14 hours. Tatum said it was only 4, but it seemed like, and we had him back there closed in, and yeah, we weren't used to. Call Donnie come back and help. Seems like, I'm sure there's a sale I need to go to that day. But we'll take care of the kids. We'll do something with them, okay? I know what we'll do. Bow season's in. We'll send one man on one side of the farm, take all the kids, and everyone else bow hunt on the other side, because all the deer will run that direction. You know, okay. We'll work out something. I'm excited about this if we can make this happen. We haven't confirmed the schedule yet, but she's a speaker that greatly helps ladies. Okay, so we want her to help. Okay, John chapter 9. We turn there yet? Do some other things too. The Christmas sing on December 7th. There's some other announcements, but I won't get to the lesson. We'll go back to the announcement. If you got questions on any of the announcement things, get back with me. If you got questions on the Sunday school lesson, let me know. Okay. John chapter 9, look at verse 1. I'm just going to read a couple verses and stop, I love this. Okay? And as Jesus passed by, he saw a man which was blind from his birth. And his disciples asked him, saying, Master, who did sin, this man or his parents, that he was born blind? How many think the disciples are wrong to ask that question? How many think it's right to ask the question, whose fault is it? How many of you have asked the question, whose fault is it? Okay? How many point the finger at somebody else and said, it must be his fault. It must be his parents' fault, right? This kid's in this trouble because of his parents, right? Now, there are situations where their kids are in trouble because of the parents, but the one born blind, it's not because of the parents, right?
according to what Jesus says in the next verse. Okay? But before we get to the next verse, is it not a natural tendency to cast blame on people? Okay? Something happens wrong, right? I was supposed to leave. I was getting off work early on Friday. I had my 60 hours in for the day. For the week, I was going to leave at about 3 o'clock on Friday, and I was going to go to Bruce and Patty's to go hunting. I was looking forward to it. I was going to go walk in the woods. At 5 minutes till, we got a phone call at work, so I didn't leave till 6 o'clock. Okay, my natural sorry, so much for hunting, right? It's getting dark. It's illegal to hunt with a spotlight. Since Jeff Comer's no longer here, I haven't done that in a long time. So I thought that was funny. Because you don't know that's illegal. Okay. It's natural tendency to blame somebody. So Tammy said, Tammy apologized to me for not, leave Friday at 3 o'clock. And she says, I'm sorry about that. It's not your fault. And my natural tendency is to blame somebody else works in our warehouse shipping department. My natural tendency is to say, it's his fault. But it's not. It may be, but it's not. There's something inside of me that says that automatically want to blame somebody, right? It's somebody else's fault. That's why we have lawyers, right? Right? Isn't that why we have lawyers? Because you always got to blame somebody, or you have a lawyer because you got to defend yourself because someone's making accusations, right? And that's why they make good money, because they figure out whose fault it is, or convince somebody whose fault it is. Okay, but it's natural to say whose fault, or to ask why. Why did this happen? Okay, verse 3. Because he's born blind, we don't know. And Jesus answered, neither hath this man sinned nor his parents, but that the works of God should be made manifest in him. Okay, the works of God, neither hath this man sinned nor his parents. Why do bad things happen to people? There's a little girl who grew up in this church. Her name's Amber. She's the same age as Rebecca, if I remember right. She came on the bus with the van with us for years. She now lives in Florida. About 2 years ago, I think it was, her 3-year-old son fell in their swimming pool and did not drown, but he has been almost in a vegetative state since then. Okay, he doesn't walk, he can't straighten out his feet go down. He can't straighten out things. He doesn't. His hands aren't useful. I guess he's cognitive of has the understanding when they're speaking to him and stuff, but he's not because of the. Well, whose fault is that? Well, Brother John, blame the parent. Okay, but things happen, right? That same young lady gave birth to a baby this past week that weighs 2 pounds and 4 ounces. I got the numbers right. Whose fault is that? I don't know. Okay. Sometimes we automatically blame, right? Don't we just automatically blame? Get back to the drowning incident of Amber's, where Amber's little boy didn't drown, but it has affected him the rest of his life. It will affect him the rest of his life. There's a lady that I read a book that her son was a Navy SEAL. She mentioned the fact that their neighbor had a pool. He jumped in the pool when he was 2. She dove in after him, got him out of the pool, and set him up. And she was frantic because he did this. And as soon as she set him down and she climbed up the ladder, she heard a splash, and there he was at the bottom of the pool looking up at him. Okay, and he was only like 2 years old. He can't swim up, doesn't know automatically, but he loves the water, and became a Navy SEAL later on in his life. But he's at the bottom of the water looking up. She said, "Oh, I can't keep him away from this." Okay, what do? Put him on. David Underwood says he's not opposed to electric shock collars on kids to keep them within a certain range, right, Dave? Just to certain ones. Then you keep away from whatever. Okay. We think, okay, then why does bad things happen? Is it sometimes our fault? I know bad things happen in our life. I look at it, I know it's my fault, right? You ever do things and you look at it and you say, I caused that, okay? And I've done that a lot of times. And I've done that in my personal life, and at church, done that at work, different things. I know what I did. I know and I know the mistake that I made here, and now it cost here, or this business, or whatever it is. Okay. There's also a law. The Bible talks about the law of sowing and reaping, and sometimes, and that might be what the disciples were thinking about when they asked, "Whose fault is this?" Because there's always consequences to our action, right? When we do something and we know we're wrong, we're convicted by it, right? Should be. When we do something we know we shouldn't have done, there ought to be something pricks our heart saying that was wrong, you shouldn't have said it. You ever say words that words, are offensive. By the time they get this far from your mouth, you know you shouldn't have said them, right? And you say, why did it happen? Okay? You can't get it back. There's always consequences of action. I think one time when we, going back a chapter or two, when Jesus Uh, when the Pharisees brought the woman taken in adultery, he said to her, go and sin no more, right? He said, just don't live the way you're living to go and sin no more. In another verse where he healed a man that was made by the water of Bethesda, he said, go and sin no more, lest a worse thing come unto thee. So there are times when we know this is a consequence of sin. His sin, somebody else's sin. Doesn't matter whose sin it is. Okay? There are adults that we know that grow up with a horrible memory of childhood, or afflicted some way, and everybody knows it's because of something that somebody else has done. Okay? There was a man that was drunk, and him and his drunk buddies were tossing his son around. Like I've always told kids up in the air, always catch them. Okay? I've never tossed a kid to a drunk guy. Okay? This man and his friends were tossing his little boy around, about 18 months old, to the point that they dropped him several times. They were having fun with this, and the preacher that gave the story said he came in to preach somewhere, and his boy sitting in a wheelchair, and the pastor told the evangelist the story that this little boy was 18 months old. Now he's 18 in a wheelchair. All the rest of his life in a wheelchair because of the wrangling that his drunk dad gave him. Okay, sometimes there's things that happen. This is all sowing, reaping its consequences of our sin. The disciples weren't wrong to ask the question, but in this situation, sometimes we don't know the situation. Sometimes we don't know if you should blame somebody, or we should take the blame for something, or if it's just something that happened, as Jesus said, that God will be glorified. Okay, that the works of God should be made manifest to Him. Okay, there's just as many times as the law of sowing and reaping. There's just as many times that God is getting us to a place of blessing because He has a reason to get us there. He has a purpose for us to. Okay, would Jacob and his sons have ever gone to Egypt had there not been a famine in the land? Remember, Joseph went down first. They sold him into slavery, and then Jacob, his father, and his brothers, and the 70 of them came down. 69 besides Jacob. They all moved down there because of a famine in the land. They moved down there as it became a blessing to them. It became a curse eventually, but they moved down there, and God said, I'm going to allow this famine to get you to this point. Okay? There's a famine in the land of Israel that caused Elimelech and Naomi to move to Moab. And the whole reason they went down to Moab, for them, on their side of it, was to get away from the famine. On God's side of it, He wanted them to win a young lady to God, whose name was Ruth. Okay? And they led Naomi, basically, in today's terminology, led Ruth to Christ, to the Savior, to the Savior. Okay? Okay, so a lot of times there's a famine or something bad happens, and we say, I don't see why this is happening. Okay, I can't understand this. We can see it sometimes when it's a cause and effect, and we say we know this happened, so therefore the effect is this. And other times that things happen, you say, why is this? Okay, when you don't know the answer, our natural tendency is to blame somebody. Is that right? If it's broke, someone broke it, right? Our natural tendency is just to go back and blame. For some of us, that's our natural tendency. There was a car wreck several years ago in a family that hadn't been in church in years, got in church because of the car wreck. Okay, there was a baby died just a few years ago, and the family that was out of church got in church because of the child that had died. And God said, "Okay, I'm not on this side of the story. We're not saying that baby died because the family was out of church, or that car wreck happened because that family was out of church. Now, on this side of the story is God saying, I want you close to me. I'm going to allow this to happen." Okay? My grandmother died when my mom was only 4 years old, if I remember the story right. I wasn't there. I don't remember the story very well. But my grandmother died when my mom was only about 4 or 5 years old. And I don't know much about the story, but I know that their father raised a godly generation of the whole family, 6 kids. He raised them all, who almost all of them served God, okay, in some capacity in their church where they grew up and went across the country, but they also took the gospel with them as they go, okay. Why does this happen? sometimes it's just to get you to a place of blessing. My former, the owner of our company that I worked for, David Lee, was my good friend. He passed away several years ago of cancer, but he was a good Christian man. He told me about growing up down in Logan and joined the Army, paratroopers, different things. And he said that he thought when he moved back to Logan after being in the Army, he thought things that happened in his life was to advance his business and to get him where the place could be in business. And he grew. He went to school and did different things, but he did really well in business. And for a long time, he thought it was just he was doing well because he was doing well in business. What he didn't realize at first, or the first couple of years of his business, was that God was moving him to get him to work with somebody that would be a witness to him because he'd never heard a clear presentation of the gospel. And when he heard the clear presentation of the gospel, after he got saved, he looked back in his life and he said, all these other things that happened to me, good or bad, they all happened for a purpose to get me to hear God, to trust Christ as my Savior. Okay? And he became a Sunday school teacher, deacon in his church, whatever things happened. Okay. If I understand that right then, just like this boy was born blind, every situation that happens, God has a purpose for it. Good things or bad things. Blessings in your family, or things that we look at as bad things in our family. Okay? The things that we think are benefits sometimes aren't. And sometimes the things that we think, how could that happen? It's awful. Because I think I'm going to use that tragedy for a reason. Okay? Whatever it takes to bring people to Christ, whether it's famine, earthquakes, hot dogs, okay? Whatever it takes to get you to Christ. Okay? They use that because the Arcane Church get a hot dog got saved instead. Okay? Even stuff like, how many here Wednesday night? This past Wednesday night. No, okay. Were the kids excited Wednesday night? Okay. Were they overflowing Wednesday night? Jamie? Other than the kid that stole stuff for her bag, put it something else. Hey, other than that one, she wasn't excited. But she was doubly excited because she was stealing the other kids. Okay. Bad things happen, or even good things. Just like using points on a Wednesday night to get kids to memorize a verse or bring their Bible, whatever, using points to get them to, points aren't going to get them saved. Memorizing the scriptures not going to get them saved. Okay? But those who are saved, it's going to get them closer to God. By them saying, I'm reading my Bible. Okay? I brought my Bible to church. Or I memorized those verses. If there's a girl that came Wednesday night that had never been here before, memorized, I remember right then, Rebecca said she memorized 4 verses or had points before they went upstairs to the class within just a few minutes because she wanted something. She was looking for something. God will use anything that you have as a Christian to take it out to other people to get them to Christ. But he'll also use anything that's out there that we look at as bad things. God's going to say, okay, let me use that thing to get them to Christ. Okay? Whether it's point system, whatever it is. But here's the next thing. Okay? Any questions on that? Anybody got testimonies to bad thing happened, that's why you got saved? Question on this? Did something happen and somebody else got saved? Bad things happened and allowed you opportunity to witness to somebody. Just because someone came to your house that's broken, someone came to your house that was broken, and you use that, God used that brokenness to get the person saved. Right? And that's the whole purpose of everything that, to me, this is not as a preacher saying this is as a Christian saying this after 40 years looking back and saying, that's why God has allowed all these things to happen for a purpose of these people out here to get saved. Okay? To get the gospel to them. So let's read on. Okay? This is the verse 3 again, where we haven't got very far in this verse, in this chapter. Jesus answered, neither this man sinned nor his parents, but that the works of God should be made manifest in him. I must work the works of him that sent me while it is day. The night cometh when men make work. As long as I'm in the world, I am the light of the world. Let's back up verse 3. That the works of God should be made manifest in him. What's the works of God? Terry, what's the works of God? Jesus healed the lame man, the blind man? Okay. Is there more to it than that? Is there more to it than just, okay, getting somebody healed? Okay. When the 5,000 were fed or the 4,000 were fed, When Jesus walked on water, the demons went out. The maniac of Gadara went into the pigs. The pigs went down went off the cliff and drowned in the sea. Is it more to it? Is there more to it than just the pigs being drowned or demons being cast out? Somebody? Is there more to it than just a man getting a sight? Okay, if the works of God be made manifest. Okay, what's the works of God? Debbie, what's the works of God? Okay, Brian. Okay. Right. Right. Yeah, there's a big difference. There is a big difference. I have no idea on that story. The evangelist that told the story, as years ago, old story. But the evangelist that told the story never mentioned the father. He mentioned the fact that the little boy grew up in their church after that. So the 18-month-old boy, he says he's all twisted and mangled. That's his life. Parents' fault. Right. Right. Got. Okay. Is God in it? Okay. Okay. Illustration. A couple months ago, there was a shooting in Texas. Um, I think 9 people were killed in the shooting in Texas. I can't remember the city. Maybe been at a Walmart or something like that, where a nutcase guy from North Texas went down closer to the border and shot a bunch of people. I think it was Walmart. Pretty sure it was a Walmart parking lot. One of the people that was shot was an 18-month-old baby. Okay, and they were strapped in their car with their twin beside them. One of them got shot. One was not shot. The mother recently testified and said, and I read this morning. The mother recently testified and said the shooter was not being motivated by God. That shooter was demonic. Okay, but God has used this situation where her baby survived. That was shot. God has used this situation for His glory, right? So this, even though bad things happen, and sometimes it's brought about by bad people or demonic people. Adolf Hitler, by all readings, he would levitate off his bed. He was demon possessed. He was a very bad person. But bad things, even though bad things, evil exists, God says, I'll twist that. I'll use that. No matter what happens, I can use it for my glory. Okay? So what are the works of God? Correct. Correct. Exactly right. Because what happens when you share the gospel? What happens when people get saved? heart changes. Life changed completely for them. Like the illustration we gave of the little boy that was twisted up and in the wheelchair, Charlie Michelle y'all weren't here with this one. Yeah, whose fault was the fault of the dad, a drunk dad. The dad and his drunk buddies may have never gotten saved, but God will be glorified in everything that happens. Okay, in some way, in every way, God says, "I'm going to take this. I'm going to use this for my glory." Okay, in everything that happens, even the flood, Noah's day. Okay, God said, "I'm going to wipe out. When starts on evil continually, I'm going to wipe out these people." And you think that's tragic that happened, and they chose not to serve God or follow God or obey God or repent when Noah was a preacher of righteousness, and they didn't want righteousness, the people that drowned. So God said, "Okay, we'll start over." Now, in all those things, whether it's judgment from God or we just think of natural catastrophes, okay, the flooding down in the Bahamas a couple months ago, think that's of God? What do you think? What do you think, Ted? Is that of God? He caused the flood? Ted says that's above my pay scale. I'm not going to answer that one. Is that okay? Right, he could have stopped it, right? He could have stopped that shooter that shot the kid down in Texas. He could have stopped the drunk dad and his drunk buddies that were torturing that child, right? He could have stopped it. They didn't. He allows men to do he allows men to be men, act on their own free will. There's times when he stopped things. We understand that. But there's Israel was going to battle one day, and they were outnumbered 185,000 to a small number, like in the tens of thousands. And they woke up the next day. I think the Syrian army with 185,000 men were dead. The whole Syrian, a couple of them woke up, and the rest of the whole Syrian army was dead. They're all laying on the ground. Okay, and God killed them that day, overnight. Okay, God will allow anything for His glory. Okay, and our job as Christians a lot of times is to take things, bad things that happen, whether we caused it or somebody else caused it, whether somebody's at fault, or if it is just life that got in the way. Okay, so how can we use this? How can we reach the guy that's the drunk? How can we take the person how can we help that mother that's child fell in the pool? How can we help that mother who just has a 2-pound baby? How can we help that? How can we take that person and get the gospel to them? Okay? Yes, it does. Sometimes it hardens people's heart. And Psalms said, harden not your heart as in the day of provocation. Okay? When God said, "I tempted you and proved you in the wilderness," and Israel rejected God. He said, "Okay, you're going to spend 40 years in the wilderness, even though you've watched me deliver you time and time again." And so they spent 40 years in the wilderness because they hardened their hearts. And you can't get out of this one. Well, all you got to do is look to Him. And our job is to point people to Him. Okay? Let's go back to this story. Okay? I'll read just a few verses and see what happens. Okay? Verse 6. When he had thus spoken, Jesus, John chapter 9, verse 6. When he had thus spoken, he spat on the ground, made clay of the spittle, and anointed the eyes of the blind man with the clay, and said to him, "Go wash in the pool of Siloam," which is by interpretation sent. He went his way, therefore, and washed and came seeing. The neighbors, therefore, they which before had seen him that he was blind, said, "Is not this he that sat and begged?" And some said, "This is he," and others said, "He is like him." But he said, "I am he." He said, "I'm the guy that was blind that was sat there begging all my life." Okay. Therefore they said unto him, "How are thine eyes open?" He answered and said, "A man that is called Jesus made clay and anointed my eyes, and said to me, Go to the pool of Siloam and wash. Now I went and washed, and I received my sight." Stop right there. Okay. So when something good happens, this guy who was born blind, and there was a question, came back, who was his fault? His fault, his parents. And God said, Jesus says, got to be glorified. Okay, with the works of God. When healed, this guy said, "A man named Jesus made clay of spittle and anointed my eye." You may be there blind, and someone spits, and all of a sudden there's moisture on your eyes. And as they go wash in the pool, okay, he know where it's at. I'm sure he's blind, lived there all his life, knows where to go, knows which way to go. Okay, goes by the sound, the smell, whatever. Get there, washed off, and he can see. First thing he did when they would ask about it, he gave God glory. He gave Jesus glory for it. I don't know. He gave him the glory. Jesus did this. I don't know who he is. Okay, a man named Jesus. That's all he calls him. Okay, let's look at another verse. When he's questioned by the Pharisees, I think it's verse 16, 17. Therefore said some of the Pharisees, this man is not of God because he keepeth not the Sabbath day. Others said, how can a man that is a sinner do such miracles? Talking about Jesus, not the blind man. And there was a division among them. They said unto the blind man again, what sayest thou of him, that he hath opened thine eye? And he said, he's a prophet. He's got to be a man of God, right? So he said, first he said, he's a man named Jesus. That's all I know. And then after hearing everybody else argue about what had happened to him, he said, he must be a prophet, right? I mean, how can he do this if he's not? He's a prophet of God. That's what I heard about him so far. We go down to verse 29. Read a couple more verses. We know that God spake. Again, the Pharisees are talking to this man, the blind man that can now see. We know that God spake unto Moses, as for this fellow, we know not from whence he is. And the man answered and said unto them, why, herein is a marvelous thing, that you know not from whence he is, and yet he hath opened mine eyes. Look here, look here. If Jesus performs a miracle in someone's life, whether it's healing a man that was born blind, or taking someone that was an alcoholic, making them a sober Christian, or taking someone whose life is racked with sin and changes their life completely, and only Jesus can do it, and he's the only one they're giving credit for doing this thing. It's marvelous to the world that doesn't acknowledge Christ, that they're looking and say, no, you don't know what you're talking about. The guy says, I was blind. I was born blind. I'm the one that was begging. You ask, yeah, you want me to tell you again who he is, okay? His name is Jesus. I think he's a prophet. I don't know. But here you question everything he does, okay? I look at it this way. I know what I was before I got saved. I know I was from the day I got saved afterwards. I'm still just a sinner saved by grace, but I know this transformation took place on August 22nd, if I remember the date right, of 1980. I know the change that took place in the 17-year-old kid that was in trouble all the time that said, I got something different on the inside. I'm not the person that I was yesterday. The kid yesterday was in trouble. This kid today wants something different, looking for something different. Like my eyes were open just as much as this blind guy's eyes were open. Okay? Let's read on what this guy said. This guy's still speaking 31. Now we know that God heareth not sinners, but if any man be a worshiper of God and doeth his will, him he heareth. Since the world began, was it not heard that any man opened the eyes of one that was born blind? I mean, you go back through history, it never had before. If this man were not of God, he could do nothing. They answered, said to him, thou hast altogether born in sins. This thou teach us? And they cast him out. Here's the works of God. He heals this man from his blindness. And when questioned about it, he gives God the glory. He said, his name is Jesus. I heard he's a prophet. Man, he's got to be a man of God. God doesn't hear the heathen people, so he's got to be a man of God. I don't know who he is exactly. Okay? And the Pharisees hate him so much. They hate Jesus so much that now they hate the man that he's healed. And they cast him out. We don't want you around here. Okay? That's pure religion right there. Okay? That's religion at its finest right there. That's exactly what it is. Okay? So this man is now driven out of the synagogue or his church family. Okay? Because he said, hey, Jesus did this for me. I don't know who he is. He did this for me. Let's see what happens to him. Okay? Verse 35. Next few verses. Jesus heard that they had cast him out. When he had found him, Jesus sought him out. When he had found him, he said to him, dost thou believe on the Son of God? And he answered and said, who is he, Lord, that I might believe on him? Now, do you think does he recognize Jesus' face? Nope. I mean, last time Jesus was talking to him, he was blind. All here was this wet stuff on his face. Okay? Right? So, but he knows. I mean, he may recognize the smell or the voice or something. Dost thou believe on the Son of God? He answered and said, who is he, Lord, that I might believe on him? I don't know who he is, but I'm going to believe what you say because you're the one that did this. You're the one that healed me. Okay? And Jesus said to him, thou hast both seen him, and it is he that talketh with thee. And he said, Lord, I believe. And he worshipped him. Okay. back in verse 3, when Jesus said, neither this man sin nor his parents, that the works of God should be made manifest. Here's what it is. Here's the works of God. Whatever it takes to get people to worship God. Whatever it takes to get people to bow on their knees before God, to worship God. Whether they're lost people getting saved or Christians getting a rebuke in life or something that calls them back to God. Whatever it takes is worth it, right? Sometimes we want to make things happen our way, okay? I want somebody to get saved just because I want them to get saved. You guys say, well, let me allow this to happen over here, and it's going to have nothing to do with you. I mean, you're praying for this brother or this sister or whoever it is. You're praying for this family member to get saved. But it's nothing, you can't do anything right now. I'm going to allow things to happen in their life, and they're going to look up. And until they look up, they're not going to see. Okay? They're going to be blind just like this man was until they're ready to hear my voice. I don't know how old this guy was. 20 years old, 40 years old. I have no idea how old this guy was that Jesus healed him blind. But he was a man. He was blind for birth. If someone would have come and witnessed to him a year before, he might not listen. He may have been said, you say what you want. God did this to me. Right? I've heard that from people. Right? You say what you want to say about God. I hate it. There's a lady that lives probably half a mile that direction, 3/4 of a mile away. I witnessed her once for a long time one day. And she said, this is what God did to me. Nothing I can say. She's mad at me. Okay? Why did this happen? When we grew up in church, Morse Memorial, United Methodist Church, I was 12, he was 13. We had 3 Cocker Spaniel dogs. The dogs got out. They're supposed to be in the fence in the backyard. They kept getting out. And my brother, I was not home yet for football practice. My brother was out chasing out trying to find the dogs. And he had stopped on McCorkle Avenue just praying for our dogs. He's a 13-year-old boy. And we were taught to pray, ask God for anything, right? That's what we're taught in church. And he's standing there by the side of McCorkle Avenue praying for our dogs to be found. And you think, this is silly for someone to even bring up something like this. It affected him for years. Almost that exact spot where he stopped and prayed, when he circled back around later, one of the dogs was laying there dead. Okay? You get mad at God, right? You've ever prayed, John, that's silly to be mad at God over a dog, not for a 13-year-old boy, right? That was a big thing to him because those dogs were precious to him. Okay? He and his friends, just the dog. I'm just kidding. Nobody liked him but the dogs. No, I'm just kidding. Everybody liked him. But he got mad at God when he was 13 because of that. Okay? If somebody would try to witness to this blind man 6 months before, he might have shut him down. Okay? But Jesus healed it. The works of God will be manifest. Whatever it takes to get somebody to worship God that wasn't worshiping God before, that's the works of God. Good things, bad things. It could be what we would see a bad thing, someone being born blind, or a car wreck that affected a family, or it could be a good thing, like I talked about my boss who got promotions at work, ended up moving to Huntington, ended up working with somebody that led him to Christ. Okay? And it could be bad things or good things in our sight, but God says, I'm going to use it for my glory, no matter what it is. You got questions? Comments? It means anything that happens. I can tell you how many funerals we've gone to where people were listening for the first time. Hearing the gospel for the first time because they didn't have time before. We did a funeral down in South Charleston at the I can't remember the name of the funeral home. Oh, behind Joe Hall, about 2 blocks away. I was talking to a family whose the lady had passed, had probably about a 14-year-old daughter, maybe 15 years old. Other than that, I've never talked to anybody in that room before. Okay? I had the opportunity to witness to about 50 people that day. Okay? You think it's a bad thing that someone died? The young lady died of cancer, probably only 40 years old. Okay? All for a reason. People who, if I went to them at their house and tried to witness to them, they weren't here. If they're standing there thinking about looking at a coffin, thinking about their friend, they're going to listen to that thing. Okay? God allows everything for a reason. that the works of God will be manifest. That leave questions, comments, situations you don't know. Okay. Kind of answers that question why sometimes when we want to blame somebody and ask why. Why does this happen? Why does this happen? God's got a reason. Or God can take it for a reason. God can use it for His glory, no matter what it is. Doesn't mean He's in the person that's doing bad. Doesn't mean He's in the shooter or the drunk driver. Doesn't mean the guy's guiding that drunk driver to take somebody out. Preacher's dad was killed by a drunk driver. It means God's going to use it for His glory. We can. We're allowed to. Guys, thank you, Lord, for loving us. I pray you'll help us be Christians in every area of life. Lord, bring glory to you. Thank you for loving us. I pray you'll use us to get people to see you, to worship you. In Jesus' name, we ask.